Evening everyone and welcome to this tactical experiment brought to you by the View from Medway Fancast, sponsored by Snodhurst Used Car Sales and Service Station and Wiki Creative, and in partnership with Sports Social Podcast Network and Her Game 2. Last night, Gillingham lost 1-0 in a game that proved you don't need lots of goals to create lots of confusion. The Gills lined up in a shape that was technically a formation, but only briefly, before evolving several times through the evening depending on the mood, possession and possibly the phase of the moon. Let's get straight into whatever that was. I'm joined this evening by...
I'm joined by Rob and I'm joined by Mr. Owen Stanley. How are we, gentlemen? We are waiting for Gab Sutton to come on, but he's only just done his own show, apparently, so he may be a little while longer. So how are we, Rob?
Yeah, very good, mate. Very good, thank you.
Yeah, and how are you, Owen? I mean, we haven't seen you for a while, mate. Obviously, left ME7, so how's life been for yourself?
Yeah, pretty good. It's good that the channel's still going and there's still 4 very good, very strong Gills channels. Been wanting to pop into a couple here and there, do a little bit, but not consistent enough to do it on my own anymore. But so it's nice to have a chance to come on and talk. So cheers.
No worries at all. And we are joined as well now by Mr. Gab Sutton. How are you, sir?
I'm very well, thanks. Appreciate you having me and look forward to chatting Gills.
There we go. So we will quickly just jump straight to the lineup from last night. We had Glenn Morrison goal. We had Sam Gout right back, Omar Beckles, Travis Ackenmayer and Max Clark. We then had a holding midfielder in the shape of Coleman. We then had Robin McKenzie little just in front of him. Right winger of Seb Palmer Holden. Left winger of Ronan Hale and a striking force in Andrews, if we can call it a force. So I will go with you first, Gab, and I will ask you, sure. Obviously, you don't watch Gillingham week in, week out. Fully appreciate that. But do you think, we've lost Rob, do you think that it was a good lineup, or do you think that it was a bit disjointed or square pegs and round holes? I mean, Ronan Hale coming in and being automatic, put on the left-hand side to me was probably the biggest red flag. So what did you think of it?
Well, what I'd be interested to talk to you guys about is I think that playing 3 centre forwards by trade, I imagine that makes the pitch quite narrow, especially when you've got a centre half at right back and left back in Max Clark, who I actually think is very solid and reliable, and I've liked him for 2 or 3 years at this level, but maybe isn't the most explosive going forward. So I could imagine that you're relying pretty heavily on crosses from deep, and if the opposition deal with Josh Andrews and other centre-forward sort of presences in that front 3, then they might actually find life easier than you would like.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, that's fine, yeah. No, I totally understand. So, yeah, I mean, I'll go with you. 6:30 came out. 6:30, the team came out. And I think I was a little bit unsure if we were going to play a 5, because obviously Robbie can drop back into there as well. What were your thoughts on it when it came out at 6:30?
I worked out pretty quickly what we were doing, even though I was very much hoping I was wrong the whole time I was working it out. We were having a few discussions in our group chat about it. Some suggested maybe it was Seb Palmer Holden playing as a 10 and then Howard Andrews up front, which I don't think Seb's played a 10 for us at all, so I didn't believe that. Mm-hmm. But it's like you said, square peg round holes. This was, I saw a lot of people getting excited by the fact we were playing 3 strikers, but I think, yes, you can't really get excited about that when 2 of them are playing completely out of position. We really nullified ourselves through our own worst enemy because of that. And I'm quite a big fan of Gareth Ainsworth. I was quite highly of him. And I know he's coming under a bit of slack at the minute, but I can't really defend what he did yesterday. I think playing Sam Gower is one of the best centre-backs in the world, in the league. At right back is crazy to me. I know that Hutton's obviously very much probably the most Marmite player we've got in terms of some rate him, some absolutely don't. But I'd much rather Hutton be there as a natural right back than waste Sam Gower, because he can't play right back. I mean, he can, but not to the same level that people expect him when he plays centre back. And to start, I'll go into this a bit more deeper later on when we get into the game, but to start Ronan Howell, you've just spent allegedly 250 grand on giving him his first start from a wide position is completely mind-boggling to me. We've seen it a few times this season. Nevitt's played out wide, Palmer Holden's played out wide. These are strikers. You play them as strikers, and if you're doing it simply to accommodate Josh Andrews, who, with respect, 5 goals in 50 games, that's not someone you need to build a team around and accommodate. I know Gab will know this as well, that I think he actually said to me in an interview we did back in the day that sort of Ainsley sort of dies by his big man up top sort of rhetoric, and I get that. We've got Andrews, we've got Vokes, but if them two aren't performing or getting the numbers that we want them to, then we shouldn't have to put players in round holes to accommodate them, and to put Ronan Howe out wide when he scored goals in Scotland, coming in good pedigree. But even he would have obviously been okay with it because his manager's asking to. I bet in the back of his head he was asking questions about that, and it panned out that way up until probably the 75th minute when we started playing. But until then, he was quite nullified. So was Seb, playing unnatural positions. For me, it doesn't work, and I hope we don't see it again. But I would be quite surprised if we didn't see it again. That was a very long answer. Sorry.
That's all right, mate. No worries. And yeah, Rob, yourself, when the lineup come out.
Yeah, Owen's left nothing for anyone else to say. To be quite honest, like I agree with most of it. I don't like Gale at right back, so that's concerning. Realistically, to play three strikers, you need creativity. And I looked at that midfield three, and I just feel like there's legs there, or lack of at times, but there's energy, there's physicality, but there's no creativity. So you're not creating anything for the forwards anyway. And like Owen said, you pay 250 grand for a goal scorer, for a centre forward, and you play him on the wing. Like, for me, that's just clueless for me. I don't understand. Like, if you're going to play wingers, they should have signed a winger. Yeah. They didn't sign a winger; they signed a striker. So, for me, it just looked a mess. It looked a mess.
Yeah, and we will get onto it further on in the show about like what we feel that should happen and what lineup we should potentially play. But we'll quickly crack on with the game. Obviously, we lost 1-0, so we're talk about the first half first. And I think I posted last night saying we were too easy to play through the middle. And again, it's that problem. They were targeting Max Clark quite a lot. I think it was more so at the start with Bromley on Saturday, where they literally just hoofed it straight out of play.
They did that at Walsall. Can I just interject, Chris? Bromley have always been that team where they'd rather the opposition had a throw in their defensive third than they had the ball from a kickoff, which I think is quite an interesting, shows a bit of humility almost, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it was kind of like it's like when you play rugby. I suppose when you play rugby, you kind of kick it out of play straight away to get further up the pitch or whatever. But it was quite a funny one. I think they played through us centrally quite a lot. We were too easy to play through the middle and on the left-hand side. And we will get into the goal and everything like that soon. So, I mean, I'll go with you in your overview on the first half. We'll do it in halves this week.
I thought do you know what? Contrary to belief, I don't actually think Notts County played that well, really. I don't think they were particularly brilliant. I think obviously you've got to take into account there was no Jatta, no Jones, so that nullifies them a little bit. But I think when you look at what we gave them in the first half, I think they had a Cerulu, and a couple of cold efforts which weren't far away. On another day they could sneak into the far corner, and that's a problem. But I don't think they were particularly creating chance after chance. Don't get me wrong, we weren't either. But I think it sort of was one of those games it could well have been 0-0 at half time. And going forward, I think, Hale tried to make himself look busy. Little did two really good bits. I actually think he made a great one run in the first half, got past a couple of challenges and put Seb in a bit wide, and he put his shot wide. And there was this other moment where he got himself out of a corner and put a brilliant ball right across the face of goal. And obviously strikers that play for Gillingham won't know where that's going to be, so they didn't get on the end of it. And I think Hale, he had a good shot from 25 yards, just wide. That's one thing I've liked about him from what I've seen so far. He's not afraid to just shoot and get the ball out of his feet quickly and take it on. And I think the problem was the midfield, where obviously not regardless of missing players, they're going to have the majority of possession. I think we knew we were going to have to do a bit of ball chasing. I don't think we really had the energy in there, which is, going back to team selection, not saying he necessarily should have started, but I was a bit surprised Callum Ansary didn't get the call for this one. Obviously would have been fresh, only played 6 or 7, 8 minutes the weekend. So I thought maybe he would have got the call. But in the first half, really, we didn't do a whole lot ourselves. We didn't really give much away until, I think you're going to talk about this in another segment, so I'll lead on to that. Until what happened.
Yeah, and obviously, Gab, I appreciate that you don't watch every single Gillingham game and all that kind of thing.
Sure.
But given the stats, it did look quite even. I think the first half we were terrible, really. What would you say is an issue within Gillingham Football Club where at the moment we only seem to be able to play relatively well in one half rather than two?
Well, I think as you quite rightly touched on, my big belief when it comes to Gareth Ainsworth teams is they live or die by how good the target man is. So for a long time, they had Adebayo Akinfenwa, and then towards the end of Ainsworth's tenure, they had Sam Vokes, who's obviously former Wales international. But on Akinfenwa, who was kind of the figurehead for their rise to the championship, you'll have, as Gillingham fans, have seen him play, and I think you'll agree with me if just nod or chip in if you agree. He's actually much better technically than given credit for. Like, people look at him and think, "Oh my God, how funny that a guy of his shape is playing football." But actually, as a technical footballer, he is really good at picking passes and looking after the ball. I think we're in agreement on that he's very skilled at that.
Yeah.
So I would say, and I would question whether Josh Andrews, so Akinfenwa for an Ainsworth team was the glue that you build the strikers playing out wide, coming onto things, and you build the midfielders running on, and it's all around the glue of the target man. And that's kind of, to a certain extent, along with the culture that he established that, I may come on to, I think that's the glue of the team. And I just wonder whether Josh Andrews has the skill. I'm not saying he doesn't have the effort, because I think he does, but whether he has the skill and the creativity. Goals I can forgive, because if you're being a really good target man and bringing everyone into the play and not scoring so many, but you're facilitating goals for the players, that's kind of, that's okay for me. But if he's maybe not doing his job in terms of bringing everyone into play to the required level, then I think that's maybe where a Gareth Ainsworth team falls down, especially when we consider the other downsides of the system that we've spoken about on Tuesday night.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, there he is. He's back again. Can you hear us, Rob? Can you hear us, mate? No. Okay, no. This is the joy of being live, isn't it, Gab? I'm sure you've had a few issues like this yourself.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, where's he gone again? There we go. So anyway, we will just move on to the second half, because the first half, well, after we've spoken about obviously their goal, I'm sure I was fuming by it. Defensively, we were absolutely diabolical with it. People are continuously slating Max Clark about it, but if you look at it, the man himself was actually meant to be marked by Ethan Coleman, so you could kind of let Clarkie off there. And for me, I don't think that a striker should be in the box. If you're a target man, you should be, 18-yard box maximum. So I'll go with you, Owen. And your thoughts on the goal? It was just sloppy, mate, wasn't it?
Yeah, because it came from a set piece that we actually initially cleared, and then they recycle it on the halfway line.
Yeah,
and then I imagine all their players in the box are expected to be lofted back into the air, and they play the ball across the floor. Imagine the person who played the ball was even surprised about what he saw in front of him with Scott Robertson and the amount of space he had. What I will say about Clark is it was right on the left-hand side, and Clark was stuck in the middle. So technically, by positioning, he should have been out there. I think you've done Coleman a disservice. It's actually Andrews who's marking him.
What was it?
Yeah, he gets touch, puts it through Andrews' legs off the post and goes in. And I think it's just, I don't like using the term lazy, but it's just being switched on in those moments. And, I listened to Ainsworth's press conference. He says, we can't do that. We can't do that. But we've heard that before, and it's not the same. It's not the first time something like that's happened where we've just switched off. We clear the ball initially. We think that's danger over. Then one ball comes back in and Scott Robertson's completely free to, he could have taken 2 or 3 more touches and had a chance to stick it away. And it's just, when you'd had a relatively okay half from the defensive point of view, to let it go and lose your clean sheet to something like that is really, really poor. And obviously there's nothing Omar Beckles could have done about it, but I'm hoping that as a senior member he is, because, he's been in teams where obviously he's seen, young players coming through, he's seen older players who could get better. I'm hoping he's when they have the team meetings and they go through the highlights of games, he'll be one of those who puts his hand up and looks at the situation and says, okay, this is what we should do better. We shouldn't allow this space. And when I say put his hands up, I'm not saying he's to blame. He's like the completely opposite end of where it happened in the box. Not to do with him. But, the sort of organisational skills, because something like that, I think, you don't need to be a professional footballer. I think if me, you, Rob, or even Gab are in that penalty box, they'd probably be like, someone should probably mark him, I reckon. So it's not something you need to be entirely switched on to know about. But yeah, we've been caught lacking in that department, and that's incredibly frustrating to concede a goal like we had. The last 4 goals we've conceded. Ben Thompson's second one maybe because it's a great hit, but the other ones and the one yesterday, there's some very questionable defending amongst those.
There definitely is. Welcome back, Rob. Hope you can hear us.
Yeah. All sorted, yeah.
Cheers for that. So, Rob, I will go with you. Before I talk about Max Clark in isolation, I will quickly go with you and your thoughts on the first half, mate.
I felt like we lacked ideas, we lacked energy. I feel like we lost control in the middle of the park from quite early on. The goal, for me, I don't understand why Josh Andrews ended up being in the right back, left back position. Can't really remember, one or the other. I don't know how that came about. I know set piece comes out, but you got to get out. Like, you shouldn't have your big centre forward in that position. And there was just too much space, too much time. And look, Glenn, I don't like criticising goalkeepers, but he's beaten at the near post again. I just don't understand how that happens. Surely he knows. He's got players in the way of the far post, so he's always going to look to go to the near post. We lack creativity in that first half. When we had the ball, there was no point where I was on my seat going, "Oh, we could do something here." But every time Notts County had the ball, I thought, "Oh my God, close your eyes because something could happen now." And I think that just tells a story.
Yeah. No, fair enough, mate. We will quickly touch on Max Clark in isolation because he's come under a lot of scrutiny in the last couple of weeks. I think since Bromley, and even before, I think some fans use him as a bit of a scapegoat. We like one of them at Gillingham. Max Amer was one for quite a number of years, and now it seems to be falling more directly onto Max Clark. So, Gab, what do you think Max Clark needs to do? I mean, obviously, there's talk that he's out of contract in the summer. Does it mean that he's losing focus? This is a guy that is continuously in League Two Team of the Years. He's continuously there or thereabouts with stats. What do you think it is about Max Clark that Gillingham fans kind of aren't adhering to?
So my experience of Max Clark, I think his best season was probably the 22-23 campaign with Stevenage, when he typically played as a left wing back, actually, but not maybe so much in the traditional sense where you'd think he'd be more attacking than a fullback, because Stevenage under Steve Evans, as they're fairly conservative and like to keep things tight and go quite direct. So Max Clark didn't have to do a huge amount in the build-up play, but he was very solid and very reliable and capable at supporting from behind when he needed to, without being too explosive or adventurous. But I think. I think there were Stevenage fans that were maybe expecting Max Clark to get a new deal for League One because he'd been one of their probably most consistent players in the second half of that season. But he ended up moving to Gillingham and probably had a bit of bad luck with your lot, because he was going to be your left-back signing in 2023, I think. Yeah. And then you signed Scott Malone because he became available, and you can't refuse someone of his experience. And I just wonder whether that's not... Do you guys think that thing knocked Max Clark's confidence a little bit, and it sort of took the wind out of his sails, perhaps?
I don't know about that. I mean, because he's been that way, to be fair. Like, he, as you say, Scott Malone comes in, he's then second fiddle. He then fights his way back into the team. Then we started playing Shadowgi on the left-hand side a little bit. And then he came back and fought his way back and got Team of the Year last season. Rob, do you think that it's warranted, the criticism that he gets, or do you think that he's just being made a scapegoat?
I think the reality is that a lot of goals are coming down that side because teams have realised that he's not the quickest, and they're putting the ball in behind him and getting quick wingers to run beyond him. And you're playing to his weaknesses. And unfortunately, when that happens and goals are coming down that side, you're gonna get criticised. People are going to start to point the finger. But I think the bigger issue is the awareness of players around him. His teammates will know that he's not the quickest. So surely someone's got to be switched on and covering, either the centre half coming across or Mackenzie or a Little going across to support him.
Yeah.
You know your teammates. You work with them every day. You play with them every week. Like you know his pace is not his strong point. You know that most of the time there's a tricky, quick winger against him. Go and help him. Like I've watched so many times where nobody helps him. Like he doesn't get the help, and then he gets criticised because another goal down his side. So you have to play to someone's strengths.
Can I just make a point there, Rob? That often he's playing without a winger in front, a natural winger in front of him. And I think that can be a challenge, perhaps, because it means that he's then responsible for creating width, which is one thing when you're playing as a wing back in a back five, if you like, because you've got the insurance of the other centre half and you're covered. But when you're playing in a back four, that is quite a lot to be responsible for holding the width and being the one person, that's on that side permanently, but also be the left back that needs to support the centre halves. Do you make some allowances for that? Perhaps?
Yeah, this is why I have such a problem with the starting lineup last night, because you're playing exactly that. You're almost saying we are playing one player on the left side of this pitch, because the natural forward that's playing wing is drifting inside, because that's natural for them to do that. So Max is coming up into like halfway through their half to produce the width. We're losing the ball, and the first thing they're doing is putting it back into that left back position, and he hasn't got the pace to get back, so he's getting caught out all the time. And that is down to the way the team's set up. It's down to a lack of brain cells by his teammates covering him. Like there's a lot of things. There is a lot of things, and I don't think it's all his fault. So I do think it's a bit harsh, and I think we can be pointing the finger elsewhere rather than Max Clark. That's for sure.
I mean, I'm quite a big fan of Max Clark. I think he doesn't set the world alight, but he's quite consistent, isn't he? He looks devoid of any confidence at the moment for me. Just everything that goes down his side, he just looks a little bit just not all with it. But question for you, Owen, would you persist with Max Clark, or when Lenny Serino's back, would you bring him in instead?
So with Clark, I think he has quite a few similarities to Hutton, actually. I think in a back four, I think they both struggle. In a five back, when they're wing backs, I think they're a lot more comfortable, especially Hutton, because he can't defend one-on-one for anything. I think Clark's a better one-on-one defender. Hutton isn't, but I think Hutton can offer more going forward than probably Max can, which is where the answer to your question comes in. Because yesterday, in particular, I know he's the one for clear against Newport, and he can score a goal like he did against Bristol Rovers. I think his crossing was really, really bad yesterday. And I think the Bromley game, I did have I did feel a little bit sorry for him for the third goal with Corley Whiteley scores, because there's about 10 yards free behind him, and he's not the fastest player, Max, and he's got completely ripped. But there was no one coming back to cover that, and obviously Morris should save it as well. But I think from what I've seen this season, and I'm not sure when he is back from injury, hopefully soon, but I think you probably sacrifice a little bit of now some one-on-one defending by taking Clark out, but I think you gain forward momentum and chance creation by bringing Serino in. So I think if you pay a five back, which I would, and you have, say, Travis as the left side centre back, who, side note, I thought was very good yesterday, actually. Next to Serino, he's pacey, he's strong, he can cover. I think I would make that sacrifice to have Serino as the wing back, because from what I've seen this season, he can play wing back. I reckon he could play a half decent winger as well, Serino. I think he's positive going forward. He tries to make things happen. Obviously, it's not going to come off every time, but I think there's good intent from him. And I think if it's a back four, if we have to play a back four, you probably do go Clark just for that one-on-one defensive now. So I think if we're playing a five, which we know we didn't sign any winger, so we have to now, I think Lenny would be the answer for me in that case. I think he'd just offer more, and as I say, we may sacrifice a bit on the defensive side, but I think with that cover from the third centre back, I think it would be worth it to have a player out there who's more progressive going forward.
Yeah.
I also feel like teams target Max Clark aerially. Like when they're in crossfield balls, they're targeting that left back area every time because aerially he's not the best, and quite often he'll get beaten in the air and then they're in. So I think there are weaknesses to his game, but I think the team has to work around that because you can't just leave him on his own one-on-one on the floor or in the air, in my opinion.
I think
The other thing, just to add to that, to amplify what you're saying there, Rob, is when Clark had his best season at Stevenage, it was next to a left centre-back called Carl Perjani, who is amazing in the air. So that kind of mitigated his maybe vulnerabilities, whereas I suppose I look at the team sheets that you had at Notts County and it's the young lad Amokie, or a name, sorry if I've got that name wrong. But Akamoa, thank you, Owen. Akamoa, who might be a younger lad, might be a little bit less dominant, perhaps. So that that could be in the equation as well.
Yeah, and I think you look back against Bromley that first half. He had Connor Masterson next to him, and Masterson himself isn't the fastest of players to get back and probably support Max if that's what we're actually saying. So we move on to the second half, boys. I think we up until the 70th, 75th minute, it was much of the same. We started looking better when Bradley Dack come on. Gab, I'll go with you. How important do you think Bradley Dack is to Gillingham Football Club?
Yeah, I mean, I think you saw that good give and go. There was a ball, was it one that sort of flew across the face of goal where someone nearly got on the end of it, and it was a nice little 1-2 down the right-hand side. And I suppose that's the sprinkling of genius that Bradley Dack can bring, and he looks like you're seeing shades of his old self. So yeah, maybe Bradley Dack, in ability wise, I certainly think he has the ability to be that jewel in the crown for Gillingham.
Yeah, and Rob, your thoughts on the second half? Obviously, out of all of us, you were the only one, I believe, the only one that was there last night. I had to watch it on telly because the kids, and being a Tuesday night up and down to Nottingham wasn't quite possible. So yeah, your thoughts on the second half, mate?
Well, yeah, I mean, the snow came down. It started snowing and we got better. So, let's hope it snows a bit more. I feel like the substitutions changed the game. I feel like the first two substitutions were the wrong ones. I didn't understand that. I didn't. I felt like the first Dack should have come on earlier. I actually feel like the Hutton coming on changed the game more because he brought width to that right side. And he was delivering balls in that was causing a few problems. I think Gale and Clark's crossing all game yesterday wasn't good enough. And I'm not sure Sam Gale can take a throw in either. Some of them throw-ins weren't very good. They went up, not long. So it wasn't much better, but we created a few more chances, and I think the substitutions did make us look better. But look, all in all, it was a long 90 minutes again, where we're just hoping for a moment, and that moment came right at the end, and I am still not sure how that ball did not go in. That Beckles header, and then Dack just 2 yards out hit the keeper again.
It was offside, the prodigal son, isn't it? Belshaw returning to Nottingham.
If he was offside, then that's great because it saved his blushes, didn't it? Because
actually, on the replay, it does actually go over the line from Dack's shot.
Does it?
Not it would have mattered, but
yeah. Well, so yeah, Owen, I'll go with you, mate, in your overview of the second half.
I probably skipped to about 65 minutes because I can't really remember what happened before that. Nothing, I don't think. Look, I would, if it was up to me, I would have gone to a 5 at half time, which I know people probably might think would be a negative move, but considering we were playing with 9 men by having 2 strikers out wide, I think it made sense to do it. I would have put Hutton on at right wing back and taken off Seb. Then I think you've got options from what we've done before in the past, or we have played 2 up top. It's usually Andrews and Nevitt, and I think Andrews is a different topic. We'll get into that, but I think we should have just changed it so we had Hale down the middle, and then had McCleary possibly come on a left wing back, or Aaron Rowe. Maybe that's better suited. And just look to create more that way, because I think when Andrews came off and Vokes came on, I don't think there's a whole lot of difference, because they're both sort of similar. I think Vokes has got a lot more nous, a lot more experience. You know, he knows how to position his body when he's up against defenders. He knows sort of the runs players are going to make around him, whereas Andrew's more like the ball will come towards him. You'll hear a big boing and the ball will deflect somewhere in the opposite direction.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Vokes can hold it down a little bit more. But I felt like Ronan through the middle would have been the move that I'd make. Obviously, I get it further in the game when you want to, you know, just pump balls into the box. You want those big men in there. But yeah, I think it was weird because I think second half we were a better team. I don't think Notts really created anything. They had a few pot shots from outside the box, and they had one moment on the counter where someone was played through, but their first touch was horrific, thankfully, and nothing came of it. But we probably, from the chances right at the end, that the Beckles header he probably should do better with. He hits it right down Belshaw's throat. No, Hale's chance is probably the one for me, which you'd expect to go in. It's you know, it's a good save, but again, it's a bit central towards a goalkeeper, and that's frustrating. But I think we got better once we made the subs, but I don't think that should. You know, I think when Ainsworth did his presser, he talked about how proud he was and how much we created. I think he's probably a little bit of recency bias from what he saw in the last 30 minutes. That doesn't take away what happened for the 60 prior. But yeah, I think that you can make an argument that the team that ended that game should probably be the one that starts on Saturday.
Yeah, and Owen's just touched on there for my next question for all of you. Anyone would have thought that he's done this kind of thing before. So, yeah, Gareth's post-match interview, he was saying how proud he was, how, you know, it was almost like he was gaslighting fans for me. So, Owen, I will stick with you on that one, mate. Do you think that what's said in public is totally different to what's said in the changing room? Or do you think that maybe he's like this in the changing room and therefore lies our problem?
I think his answers are probably quite generic for most managers in the EFL. I think they'll always sort of exaggerate the pride or how they feel about performance because they want to back their players. I don't think any manager really comes out and tears down his players publicly. When they get back in the dressing room, they may have a few choice words, but I don't think, unless Ian Holloway might maybe after recent events, but I don't think a manager's going to throw the kitchen sink at the players in the dressing room and then go out and with that same attitude in the press conference. I think they'll always try and protect their players. I think they'll always try and, as I say, exaggerate what they thought their performance was. I don't really believe that he thinks it was this brilliant performance for Pride. I think he's been around long enough to know that we had a good spell in the last 20 minutes, but we weren't at any point in the game brilliant or anything like that. So I think it's probably one of them where he's trying to protect the players a little bit in the media, but when he talks to them personally, he's probably got a few different things to say. And I think that's just kind of the character he is, like Gareth. I think it's very rare that you'll see him, that even after he lost 4-1 at Bromley, he was disappointed, but he never seems to have any sort of anger about him in his press conferences, and I've seen this team managed by Steve Evans, so I know firsthand what that's about. He doesn't really seem to have that in his press conferences, and he probably doesn't really come across as someone who gets that angry in a changing room either. Probably more like, I'm not angry, I'm disappointed type of person, but everyone's different, I suppose. But I think he probably did exaggerate how good we were just in order to protect the players a little bit, maybe. Yeah,
and Gab?
Yeah, I think I think actually Gareth Ainsworth is possibly more. I know what Owen's saying in terms of other managers will be more positive publicly than in private, but I think with Gareth Ainsworth specifically, this is something that's been a trend of his managerial style throughout his career. He always likes to accentuate the positives. It's his first reference point, I imagine, before doing an interview, which is what are the positives, what are the things that we can take forward to build some momentum. And it's that mindset that was kind of the sort of foundation of what he achieved at Wycombe Wanderers, because he had so much influence at Wycombe, and culturally their expectations were so low, it allowed everyone, including the fan base, to just go with it and just ride this wave of positivity. And I do think that presenting a different challenge at Gillingham, a club with possibly different expectations because of the financial situation at the club, because of maybe the size of the club and the history that's, this is a club that's played in the Championship before, of course. I think that means that I think both the fan base and the players are less likely to ride the wave of positivity without expecting a little bit more empirical evidence, I suppose. So I think that's the challenge that he's got to overcome.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Gab. Rob, yourself and the post-match, do you think that Gareth is potentially protecting the players and then something else is happening behind the scenes?
Yeah, I think he's got to. I understand that, there is no good. No good comes out of coming out publicly and criticising people or slating them or calling them out on work ethic or anything like that. I don't see what positive comes out of that. But what I will say is, from a fan's perspective, when you've travelled somewhere to watch a game and you feel like the performance that you've been given isn't good enough, and then you're sitting on a train or a coach home and this press conference comes through and all your emotions are still very raw on what you've just watched, and you see your manager say, "We were fantastic, we worked really hard, there was many positives there," it just adds to that frustration. It just adds to that anger. Like, and we might all calm down the next day, but in that moment, you kind of feel like you're being mugged off.
Yeah.
Like you can't tell the world how good we've just been when I've just stood there getting cold for 90 minutes, and we have had 3 chances to score, and apart from that, we've done nothing.
Yeah. No, I understand it, mate. I'll get that frustration. Many away games I've been to this season where, you're on the coach on the way home, or even when we drew against Shrewsbury, 3-1 down at half time, and then you get on the coach for a long journey back and you see the press conference, you're just like, was he watching the same game as me?
Yeah.
But yeah, like I do it. We all play. Some of us play Football Manager, and I blast the team in the dressing room. I blast them in the press, all that kind of thing. So yeah, got promoted doing so. So it worked somewhere along the line. So we'll quickly move on then, boys. And we do have a keep or release section this week. I will go with Owen first because this was Owen's idea actually. So we'll give him a bit of credit for this one. So Owen, I'll go with you, and we go through the 16 players on the screen that are out of contract, and it's just keep or release. So we start with Glenn Morris.
Release.
Conor Masterson.
Release.
Armani Little.
Keep. Just.
Johnny Williams.
Release.
Marcus Wiley.
Release.
Sam Vokes.
Release.
Jake Turner.
Release.
Shadogi.
Release.
Aaron Rowe.
Release.
Bradley Dack.
Keep.
Max Clark.
Keep.
Ooh. Josh Andrews.
Release.
Lenny Serino.
Keep.
Ewan Williams.
Release. Why is he here now?
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm surprised we're doing a new one, to be fair. Elliot Nevitt.
Release.
And Gareth McCleary.
Retire. I'm
So
not saying he's that bad, he should retire. I just mean like he's nearly 40, he'll probably retire.
Yeah. No, I think, to be fair, he's one of our better players this season. Wait, what are you saying he's nearly 40? I'm 39. What are you saying?
Yeah, but you're not trying to... I was going to say, you're not trying to run down the wing, are you?
No, mate. Well, I struggle running the bar.
I'd keep McCleary. I just think he might retire.
Yeah.
That's what I said.
Yeah, I struggle running the bath these days, Rob. So
I'm with you, mate.
Tells. Right, Gab, I'll go with you with this one as well. So, Glenn Morris.
Cat's had a great day, but I'll release him.
Conor Masterson.
Release.
Amani Little.
Keep. I actually would build around him.
Yeah. I think I'd keep him as well. Johnny Williams.
Release.
Marcus Wiley.
Release.
Sam Vokes.
Release. Got to find the next one, I think.
Yeah. Jake Turner.
I'll go with Owen on release.
Yeah. Shadogi.
I think he showed a bit of talent a couple of years ago, but I'll trust Owen's judgment and go release.
Yeah. Aaron Rowe.
Oh, liked him at Huddersfield as a youngster, but a lot of injury problems, so I'll go release.
Yeah, and Bradley Dack.
Keep.
100% keep, isn't it? Max Clark.
Release. I think I'd possibly look for better.
Yeah. Josh Andrews.
I would release him.
Lenny Serino.
Keep.
Ewan Williams. I think we're all in agreement with that one. Elliot Nevitt. obviously on loan at Cambridge at the moment.
Release.
And GMAC.
Gareth McCleary. I think if Ainsworth stays, I'll keep him maybe in a player coach role. If Ainsworth goes, I'd release him.
Yeah, I can't see Ainsworth going anywhere for now. But yeah, Rob, what's this, bloody moving houses or something, mate?
No, my phone at 2%, so I've had to come and put it on charge. So I'm in the other room now.
There you go, mate.
Otherwise, you'd have lost me again.
Mate. We go with you, mate, with Glenn Morris.
I'd keep as backup, as number
Conor
2.
Masterson.
Release.
Little.
Keep.
Johnny Williams.
Release.
Marcus Wiley.
Release.
Sam Vokes.
Release.
Bloody hell. A lot of releases here. Jake Turner.
Release.
Shadogi.
Yeah, release.
Aaron Rowe.
Yeah, release.
Bradley Dack.
Yeah, keep.
Keep. I'm going to stop quickly because he's come under quite a lot of criticism online this week about, people saying that he's past it, he's too slow, he doesn't do anything for the team. But, he's probably still our best player. So, yeah, I'd keep him. Max Clark?
Keep.
Josh Andrews?
Release.
Lenny Serino?
Keep.
Ewan Williams?
Release.
Elliot Nevitt?
Release.
And GMAC?
Let him do whatever he wants to do. If he wants to stay, we'll keep him. If he wants to go, he can go. If he wants to call it a day, he can call it a day.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm quite in agreement with that. I think the only ones out of them that I would genuinely keep were Conor Masterson, Amari Little, Bradley Dack, Max Clark, and Lenny Serino. But Max Clark you can't really keep both of them, can you? I'd probably keep Max Clark, but have him as a backup to a much stronger left back or left wing back, should we say. But yeah, cheers for that, Owen. It was a good idea. I don't know if it kind of played out how you expected it to, but
can I ask a question for the panel?
You've all been really negative, actually.
Sorry?
I think you've all been really negative, actually.
Go on, Gab, sorry.
I'd love to ask a question for the panel at this point. Do you think in terms of the rebuild, do you think that the club was put too much stock in the unbeaten run at the end of last season and was too loyal to some of those players?
I think Owen made a really good point on social media yesterday with, because people were talking about Gareth Ainsworth being sacked, and Owen even said it was on Facebook, I believe, and he said, sack him, that's fine. If you sack him, these players are going to up their game for the new manager to then next season be exactly the same as where we are now. Because that's what happened last season. Gareth Ainsworth come in, they all picked up their performances because it was a new man in charge.
Yeah.
And then we've kind of reverted to type again this season, obviously October being the curse. But yeah, I think Owen made a really good point there. Sorry.
Well, this is I do have a theory on this that I'd be interested to hear what you think about this. I think the trouble you had last summer, is Gareth Ainsworth is very much based on his decision making is based on working with players firsthand, seeing them day to day on the training ground. But he's very relational in the way rather than analytical. I would argue that's his management style, and so therefore part of his shtick, which is what worked at Wickham, which is I trust you. I don't care what other people say. You're my man, and that's part of how he creates this culture that has been really successful. However, because he's going, I don't care what other people say. I trust you. You're my man. Yeah. To lots of these players who impressed him in the early weeks. Gareth Ainsworth has more power because he's the manager, because the Gallintons wanted to back their manager. Joe Comper didn't have the footballing expertise or nous to sort of feel as if he could challenge an experienced football manager. And I think Andy Hassenthaler maybe didn't have that much political sway, given his record of recruitment in recent years hasn't been great. So individually, what everyone did was understandable, and yet collectively it's created a kind of Aberline situation that actually hasn't favoured Gillingham for this season. So I don't know anything. I've not got a clue what's gone on behind closed doors, but that's my educated guess about how things unfolded, and the club ended up sticking with the players rather than going for a bigger rebuild that I think they absolutely need this summer.
I think Owen, I think you'll probably agree with this. We had so many problem is, Gab, we had so many players under contract from previous incumbents, and they were on longer contracts. You can't, as you know, you can't just literally rip up their contracts and kick them out of the club. So I think the bigger rebuild will be this summer. Owen, I'll hand that one over to you, mate.
Yeah, I think the bloke you talked about on Facebook made a really good point. The problem that I've got is, if you look back to last summer, why did we give Ewan Williams another contract, for example? And no disrespect to him, but he didn't play. He's injured again now. Masterson is, I kind of got, because obviously when he's fit, he is one of the better defenders in this division, but he's had problems with the same calf injury now that he had earlier on in the season. So it sounds like it might be season over for him. We don't know. But obviously he only signed a 1-year extension, and he's going to end up missing probably 3/4 of the season that he extended for. So I don't think there's much reason to extend him, really, not because of his ability, but because of his reliability. And I'm sure he'll be more annoyed about that than anyone. But this is definitely the season, the summer window, rather, where we can properly rebuild. People might think it's harsh listening to this, going through all the players saying release, whatever. But the problem is, if we give extended contracts to players who we're not sure are going to be beneficial, then we end up in the same sort of problem we've been in for the last 2 years, where we sign players, put them on long contracts that don't work out, and then they're sitting on those contracts for a long time. There's players who probably could have gone this window either on loan to the end of the season or just left permanently. Fair play to Nevitt, he did, although he got offered to go to a team in the playoffs, so why wouldn't you? But I imagine there's some players who got offers, perhaps maybe National League or another club in League Two, that can't pay them the amount we are, and they thought, now maybe I'll just sit on what I've got until the summer and not play, which I don't think is the right mentality for a footballer, but I digress. I do worry about the summer, because I think, particular, we've all said no to Josh Andrews. He plays every week. Ainsworth's very complimentary of him. I'd be quite surprised if Ainsworth didn't want to give him another contract. I wouldn't, but it wouldn't surprise me if he did. And those are the sort of mistakes that I think can cost you going forward, because, no disrespect to Josh, I'm just singling him out because of there's comments from Ainsworth to back up that he likes him a lot. He shouldn't be given another contract, but I think he will. And then that's one less striker we'll sign in the summer, because we've already filled one of those positions, and it's going to be filled by someone who probably isn't good enough to be playing for us. And it sounds harsh, but it's the reality. And we have to be cutthroat in the summer. We have to make decisions that benefit us. Football is a short career. I'm sure players who leave on a free will find another club and whatever, and their careers will continue. But we've got to be completely sure that the players we do decide to renew, if any, are players that we need to have in this building. Because if they're not, if there's a bit of doubt and there's precedence from them before, Johnny Williams has been around the last few years and it's gone bad. Max Clark, even though I said keep, has been around where it's gone bad. Those sort of mentalities, and the players have been part of that experience over the past 3 years, are the ones that, I sound like contradicting myself. Let's say keep Clark, maybe I traded to release now just to make it sound better. But those are the ones we need to let go, because of they've been part of the struggles we've had in recent years, and others just because I don't think they're good enough. Andrews and Rowe, for example, on that.
Yeah, no, cheers for that, mate. I think I mentioned it the other couple of weeks ago when me and Matt Boosie were on the huddle, and I said we need to be a little bit careful in the summer, because it's okay making sweeping changes and gutting essentially half of your team, but you've then got to find replacements for them, as well as gel them in, bed them in, have a pre-season with them, and then go again for another season. So, yeah, Rob, I think that's right, isn't it? We do need to be a little bit careful. I can see probably 6 or 7 of them staying, because that's a lot of players to have to replace in a pre-season, isn't it?
Yeah, I think what we want and what we get is going to be completely different things, isn't it? So we can say we think 12 players should be released. The chances are they'll probably go release 5 or 6 of them. There's going to be a core of this squad still here next season. That's the reality. I think the biggest problem is the contracts that are being given out. They're either too long or they're on too much money. And where it takes you have to be a special character to still want to work hard. If you've got a long contract, 3-4 years, and you're on decent money, and you're not going to get better anywhere else, you don't really. It shouldn't be the case, but I get the feeling with certain individuals, it doesn't matter as much anymore.
Yeah.
Because whatever happens, if you're in the team or you're not, you're getting paid a fortune, and you've got a 2-year contract sitting there. No one can force you to leave or tear that up. So I think we as a club have to be careful with what we're paying. I'd rather have a group of players who work hard on less money than get loads of money and don't care.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I have got a comment actually. Coleman not there. I didn't even know is Coleman out of contract in the summer?
No,
No, he's not.
he signed
got the
a
list.
extension around the same time Mackenzie did.
Yeah, I've got a list in front of me. Yep. No, I think it's till 27, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. So we will quickly move on and close the show with a look ahead. Obviously, we are at home on Saturday to Tranmere, and we've lost 1-1, lost, and Tranmere have just got the 5 losses. So, Gab, I'll come to you. What do you think the minimum as us as Gills fans and the club itself? What do you think we should be expecting on Saturday?
Well, I mean, from my point of view, as I see it, the big thing for Gillingham is to try and beat a team that isn't in the bottom 2. I'm not sure when you last did that, because you obviously got back-to-back wins against Newport and Harrogate, but I think beating a team outside that is going to be a really important step. I think with regards to Tranmere Rovers, they've had a lot of bad luck with injuries this season. Often had double-figured number out, and that's affected them, especially defensively. They do have some potential going forward. I think they've got one of the better attacking records in the league, and they've got players who can create some good moments, but they can be got at.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And Owen, your hopes and aspirations for Saturday?
Back 5, strikers playing strikers.
Round pegs and round holes, yeah?
I think we should go back to the 5.
Yeah.
I think that's our most beneficial route. I'd go, I know you didn't ask for this, but I'm going to give you it anyway. I put Morris or Turner in goal, doesn't really matter. I don't really know what Turner did wrong to get dropped in the first place, but whatever. Hutton as wing back, Sereno as left wing back if fit, if not Clark, fine. Then Akamara, Beckles and Gale. Mm-hmm. Then I would play Little. Should have thought this through.
Antwi?
No, Little, Mackenzie and Dak. And then have Andrews or Vokes, either or, which hold you want standing next year, doesn't really matter. Or Hale. I'd be tempted to play Seb with Hale, but I think we just by the nature of what we play, long ball, I don't think that's a likely scenario. But I would like to see Antwi actually get on for a bit longer. I thought he would have started yesterday, but just down to the fact that I didn't think Dak could start 2 games in a row, but obviously Dak came on, so he'll be fine to start on Saturday. But if it was to be Antwi next to Little, a bit more legs in now, I wouldn't mind it at all, but I can't see it. But hopefully he gets a fair run at it, maybe 30-35 minutes in the second half would be good.
Yep. Yeah, and Rob, yourself?
Yeah, nothing apart from a win is good enough. At home, against a team that's lost 5 in a row, and as Gab said, they've got their own injury problems. Their squad's a bit bare at the minute, so yeah, nothing. 3 points or nothing. If it's any less than 3 points, there's going to be uproar again, and the atmosphere just going to get worse and worse. Like it needs to turn around. They need to start getting results to get the crowd back on side. Otherwise, it could end up pretty toxic again pretty quickly. I've got this feeling.
Can I put something to Gab quickly? Obviously, they've lost 5 games in a row now. Tranmere, I think it's Andy Crosby. Is that his name? Cosby.
Yes.
Bill Cosby. How many games do you think? Say they were to lose to us on Saturday. Do you think that could be the nail in the coffin for him, or is there a bit more money in the jar for him?
Well, I think it's a difficult situation at Tranmere because they're in a position where the Palios are pretty much on their last legs and they are going to be selling up. But you know how between somebody selling up and the new takeover coming through, there's this weird interim period where everything's a bit in limbo. You may feel like you've experienced that at the end, with the end of Paul Scally's regime. I think Tranmere have got that a bit as well, and they're sort of almost treading water until there's more meaningful sort of change. So I think it's been tough for Andy Crosby with injuries in the mix as well. So yeah, I think Gillingham well within their rights to expect 3. Well, to don't know if you can expect 3 points, but to demand them, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're gonna. Someone, Tranmere fan, put a message on one of my posts earlier, and I said, not to fear. We make you look like prime Barcelona on Saturday. Don't worry about it. So, yeah. Anyway, right, I'm going to go with score predictions. We don't usually do score predictions, but Rob, score prediction.
2-1 Jules.
Owen,
1-0.
1-0, and Gab,
1-1.
1-1. Ooh.
That's negative. Don't have that on this show.
I'm going to go optimistic. I'm going to go for 3-1 Jules. So
You think you're going to score 3 goals?
well, we have done in the past.
We scored 3 goals in back-to-back weeks. We're talking about.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And then yesterday we created 3 chances. So unbelievable.
yeah. You never know. We might score. We did score 4 earlier on in the season against Chesterfield. Just it was at the beginning of the season, but we take the small wins. Take the small wins. Right. So obviously, guys, if you want to join us on Facebook, we are on Facebook at The View from the Medway. Follow us on X at TVFTM or subscribe to the YouTube channel, The View from the Medway Fancast, all of which is free. I haven't got a graphic for it, so it's going to go blue. But we are, of course, sponsored by Snodhurst Used Car Sales and Service Station and Creative, and in partnership with Her Game 2 and Sports Social Podcast Network. So before we shoot off, gentlemen, I would just like to thank all of you for coming on. It was quite short notice, wasn't it, last night and this morning? Usually we have a week we know we've got on within the week. So really appreciate you coming on. Before we go, any other business? And I'll start with you, Rob.
No, mate. That's it. We covered everything. Don't get me started. We'll be here all night.
And Gab, yourself.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel at EFL Debate, and there is also a memberships option if people enjoy our work. We're also available on Spotify as well. So that's EFL Debate on YouTube and Spotify.
Perfect. And Mr. Stanley, any other business?
Strikers are strikers, wingers are wingers.
There we go. That's it then, boys. So, we will be back on Monday to review the Tranmere game. It will be myself, co-host David, Ollie Weeks, and Mr. Beanhead. So, Phil Reynolds. So, I've been Chris. He's been Rob. He's been Gab. He's been Owen. Good night and up the Jills.